Konami Studios. Commanders in Crisis issue number 4. Now, one of the things I've really enjoyed about this series is the high concepts. Like, I think it feels like it's a crisis level event comic book in a world we've never experienced before, and I kind of like that idea. At the same time, I'm like, there is so much to dive into in this issue in particular that I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to do the book justice. Now, there is just so much about just so many big concepts in here that are almost hard to explain or hard for somebody like me to really grasp with like reading it one time. Maybe I should have went back and read it a few more times before I did the review, but I think it's worth bringing up, so I'm going to do my best to like bring into the light some of the things we're talking about in this book. So let's jump into it. Let's get into Commanders in Crisis issue number 4. So we open up right where we left off. We are in New Jersey, and the mom of our killer of the empathy is trying to attack our crisis boys and girls, and you know, Prizefighter just breaks her gun, so they're like, we're storming the castle, we're getting into this house, and we're taking out this man. But he shows up looking like a dick. He's like, oh, you're too late, or you're right on time, I should say. Everything's going according to plan. And Frontier just kind of stands in front like, what are you doing? What the heck is this? And he gives us his speech from the last issue, you know, like his thing about his father living off the patent from his creation, and how like nobody really understood his family or nobody understood him. But none of the commanders give a shit. They're like, okay, great, buddy, you got a story. Everyone's got a frickin' story. You're not special. So we see that this guy Tyler is like, well, why don't you make yourselves care about my story, and then I'll tell it to you. So Originator uses her power to, like, you know, give the world certain things. That's why she gave the world 24 hours of empathy. She uses her power to make Tyler's story sound interesting and like they'd care about it. So we had some backstory into Tyler's history. You know, he's a normal kid who was never special. He wanted to be special, but he couldn't be. He couldn't land a job, couldn't land a girl. Nothing about him ever worked out the way he wanted it to. So one day his mom is just like, I know what'll make you better, Tyler. I have powers that can help you do things. So his mother had this power, like this tuning fork kind of thing, that you could use to like reach into like Idelity, which is kind of like how empathy came to this planet. So they used the power, she gave it to Tyler, and that's how he was able to bring empathy into the body of the man that he killed, and that's how he killed it. So now, if nobody would respect him or care about his story, there wouldn't be anybody to care about any stories ever. And we see as he's telling this story that his mom is still outside, and she's talking to these people like, it's here, you gotta come here and do the thing, we gotta stop this before it gets worse. We see Tyler's trying to kill Frontier. Sawbones blocks the tuning fork from piercing her, but all of a sudden, boom, there's like a bunch of gunfire. Tyler is murdered in cold blood. And we go outside and we see that the mom is talking to someone called Executrix, I think is how you'd say that, Executrix. You're like, okay. Like some crazy lady in a weird mask. You're like, okay, what's going on here? They work for something called the Extinction Society, which is probably, it's something we'll talk more about as we get further down the book. So our crisis commanders, they break out of the house. We're like, all right, what the hell's going on here? They try talking to these Executioner Society people, but nothing's really working. So all of a sudden they break into a fight. They're like, this is dumb. Why are you doing this? We get some shots with Sawbones. And she's like, you know, you're not going to win. I can think of a million ways to kill you right now before you even touch me. So he does that. And again, you get some interesting stuff going on here with this idea between the mother and between Frontier. And they're trying to like talk about like philosophy and what's the importance of everything happening in this world. And they're all seeing like this one thing called the cosmic sepsis, which is, I guess it's kind of like this ideology. They're seeing that there's something important about this universe that makes it more important than other ones. So as they're having that conversation, they're trying to figure out the truth. Like, what does this multiverse mean? Like, our world, our place, people from other multiverses, everything about it. It's like a parasite leading into this sepsis, and everything about it just like destroys itself, and nothing can ever truly work. And you can just feel as like the mother is saying this stuff, Frontier is just losing her mind. She's getting super angry. And in the middle of the fight, you see everyone's still fighting. So they're trying to, you know, calm it down. You know, like Prizefighter gets hit by this weird energy and like takes his memories from his head, and like it steals like his moments with Douglas. And you're like, what's going on here? Who are these people, the Extinction Society? What are they capable of? And there's just a lot going on in that regard. everyone's still struggling to fight, but you see that it's Seer who uses like a big explosion that takes out most of the people there, and they have a minute to like catch their breaths, but she's down for the count pretty much. You're like, okay, that's fun. What else are we doing here? Now we see that it's just like Executrix versus Frontier in like a fist-to-fist combat. They're getting pissed at each other. But it's like, don't you see the truth, you misguided child? Don't you see who I am? And then Executrix takes off her helmet, and we see that it is Nina. It is a version of Frontier. Like, what's going on? Everyone's kind of freaking out. They're like, you call this your world? It's not your world, and we learn the truth. And this is where we learn that Earth X, the Frontier we've been following, she is not the Nina Next of this Earth. She is from Earth U, and she lied to everybody. So the Nina of this Earth leaves, leaving Frontier to deal with the ramifications of lying to her team. And as that happens, of course, empathy runs out. So now she has to explain herself, and no one's going to care about her story. So we learn she is the survivor of a different planet, or a different multiverse planet, I should say, something like that. You know, you get it. So she came here because she also saw that cosmic sepsis, and she's like, there has to be a way to fix it, because if everything can work together, then we can figure out to stop the world from killing itself. But the idea comes into play that the world they are fighting on got mixed up in everything. World Z is not perfect. Everything about it is like faulty and mixed up. Evil is good here. So the commanders in Crisis, like these people, they're fighting an uphill battle. They'll never actually win against evil, because no matter how hard they try, evil will prevail on this earth. They can fight all they want, but evil will win, even if they're trying to do the right thing here. Now she says the same thing that the mother said about, you know, like the philosophy of like this cosmic sepsis, and how like there's something about that, like the science works behind it, everything is right about it, but she wants to go about it a different way. Instead of having the universe kill itself, she wants to try to stop it from doing that. It just means they have to work harder, and they can do it together. But now that there's no empathy, how is anybody going to truly react to the things she's saying? And you're like, that's pretty fucking deep. Like, this is a lot of stuff going on here. Because it's kind of saying, like, our Earth is Earth Z. Like, the Earth we're on right now, where you're listening to this review, this is Earth Z. Everything we do is kind of evil, and we can't really like figure out how to win. Even the heroes that come to our Earth realize they will constantly be fighting against a system that's trying to bring them down. That's pretty deep. And we're kind of in like a stage in our lives where there's no empathy, and you're like, fuck, okay? Getting a little deep there, Steve. I don't know why you had to do that. So we get a page where all of our heroes are just kind of like pissed off, getting mad at her. Everyone's reacting in a different way. Like they're getting distant, they're getting angry, but nobody really wants to work with the Crisis Commanders anymore. So it just kind of leaves like, we can't feel anything for you, so we're done here. And they just kind of storm off and walk away because they can't be heroes anymore. What are they to do? How are they able to keep fighting if like everything they believe in's been a lie? If it's always going to be a constant struggle, there's nothing to keep fighting for. All these people are truly alone. That's deep and scary and freaks me out. Like, this book, it's really intense. It's just like this ideas of philosophy and purpose in the universe, and the inherent nature of good and evil and empathy and caring, and even the structure of a story and how a story can make somebody care about you or not. And you're like, that's a lot to talk about in this few pages. I'm like, this is really insane. You did a good job of balancing it out. I like how the story kind of like panned out to her, like Nina's truly alone now. I think she's a pretty interesting lead. I like her as a character. I like her design. This book really just had a great feel to it, and we get like a last page reveal of like the evil Nina standing in like a throne room with a bunch of hearts and glass jars, being a creepy person. And you're like, that's really fun. That's really fun. What a weird, interesting angle this book went, and I really like that. So it's worth your time. I still think you should check this one out if you haven't. It's high concepts, it's fun superhero adventures, and you're getting something you don't see a lot of in superhero comics, which is really cool. Commanders in Crisis, issue number 4. I am going to give an 8 out of 10. And thank you guys so much for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, all that good stuff, and I will catch you in the next one. Have fun, stay safe, good luck.